People come back over and over again to websites that they really connect with. The way we build that connection is through branding. People trust and they spend money with brands that they connect to. Building a real brand is what's gonna do the most to build real EEAT. How many more acronyms can we add to this? It's the way we're gonna build real EEAT, and it's the best and safest way to be able to actually grow our website beyond what we can do with just good content alone. Now, here's the thing. We all know a good brand when we see it, but creating our own brand to be a good one is the difficult thing. So today, that's exactly what we're gonna help you do.
Well, it's a really toasty 20 degrees out this morning, but we're here to talk about deciding on your brand. One of the best ways to figure out what you want your brand to be is by looking at other brands that are potentially in your space. And I think that by doing that, it just gives us a good idea of really what is a good or what is a bad brand.
Yeah, I would look at the brands that you see that you like and that you relate with, and actually try to assess why that is. Whose sticker is on your water bottle and why? I have an example of this. I'm not a sticker guy. I don't put bumper stickers on my car, and I don't really normally put stickers on my water bottle. A little over a year ago, I joined this jiu-jitsu gym, and there's something about their messaging, their style, and that's what relates with me, and that's why I put their sticker on my water bottle. It's not because I like letters in the shape of triangles, it's because I connect with the brand, and so I'm willing to be like an ambassador of that brand. It's not because it looks cool, it's because of what the brand is and how it feels.
Let's talk about a blogging example here. So we have a website, disposalxt.com. We're gonna show it here so that you can see it. And I want you to compare that to incomeschool.com. Just let that sink in for a second. There is such a huge difference between these two websites. And it really is more than just the logo and the colors on the site. Although that does make a difference.
Sure.
By having a great logo and good colors to kind of let yourself be known. It's good, but it's so much more than that.
Yeah, we're gonna talk in just a little bit about those colors and the logo and all that stuff and how it ties in. But one of these two sites is a website with content. The other one's a brand. Yeah. Income School has Pizza Day, it has search analysis, these kind of coined terms that we have for things that are specific that we've come up with. Disposal XT has content about disposing of mostly food and other trash. I mean, that's all that it is. But what if we wanted to take garbage disposals and turn it into a brand? What would we do? Well, we would need to have some sort of mission or value or something behind it that drives it. And this is the first important principle about branding. You have to have a purpose that other people can relate to. One in, disposal and in trash and stuff is the concept of reduce, reuse, recycle, right? Being environmentally responsible. What if we took that tack in everything? What if it pervaded the entire branding of the whole site? What if it was part of the content and was just the tone that we took in everything that we created? Would that change the experience people have with Disposal XT? I think it absolutely
probably would. It gives people a reason to come back. Whereas, when we write our articles, it's typically about a very singular search term. And somebody might be interested in that information, but they're not going to come back to your website if that's all you provide them.
Exactly. All right, so now let's talk about 3 important principles of branding that I think are going to really help you. The first principle is it's way better to actually lean into something than to try to make your whole website super generic and be appealing to everyone. Things that appeal to everyone actually appeal to no one. And so it's better to lean into something. Now, I'm not talking about just one thing. So to illustrate this, I think I'm gonna need a whiteboard, which might be kind of weird out here. And just like that, the YouTube genie grants my wish. We're gonna talk here about these brand indicators. So when we talk about leaning in, I'm talking about leaning in on multiple things. These are what we're calling brand indicators. They're kind of characteristics of what your brand should be. It's the feel that you want for your brand, and there's not one right answer, and it's not just one characteristic. So I want you to go through some of these and maybe even consider additional characteristics that you might want to consider on a spectrum for your own brand. So let's talk about some examples. Do we want the feel to be more light or kind of a dark, heavy feel? That's gonna impact our color scheme, it's gonna impact everything, but also the tone. Now it's okay for some of these to say, you know what, I kind of want to be a little bit more in the middle, maybe a little bit more toward light and just kind of fun, right? Which was the next one. Do we want to be really fun or do we want it to be like really serious? And so in this case, if we're talking about Terrain Treaders, our charity site, I think we're gonna lean a little more on the fun side than the real serious side. Here's one that would apply to us, but it's probably not gonna apply in most situations. Do we want a real rural kind of grungy, like super, this kind of goes into like the masculine feel, or do we want like a real sporty feel? In our case, we're going for fun. I don't know. I would say not like grungy, but not ultra like sporty jockey either. It also might
Probably
be
right
kind of in the middle.
yeah.
Do we want really broad appeal, or do we want to get pretty specific with the appeal? Specific, in here, you might have kind of a subcategory. So in our case, we were saying, do we want it to be edgy? I don't think we're gonna go super edgy. Maybe kind of more on the broad appeal side. In our case, is it more about nature or is it more about thrill? This is another one, we put a little asterisk there. A lot of your niches, that's not gonna make any sense. But for off-roading, there's like the real like thrill-seeking feel. And then there's like I wanna get to nature. I wanna see the places and experience the places that most people don't go and that you can't get to without leaving the real beaten path. I'm gonna lean probably just a little bit more toward nature. And then personable versus corporate. Do we want it to feel like we're a organization with just a ton of backing behind us, or do we want it to feel like we're your friends? And I think for basically everybody watching this, with some exceptions, you should lean all the way this direction and feel like something that like you're friends with the people that are watching your videos.
And that kind of brings me to the next point here, which is really important. And I think a lot of people can end up messing up their brand planning if they don't get this right. You need to be authentic to yourself and kind of not just project something that you're kind of interested in. I know that like when I look at websites and other brands in our space, I say, oh, this is kind of cool, but it's not me.
Yeah.
And if you end up choosing something, when you go through these indicators, if you choose something that's not really authentic to you, it's going to be really hard to fake those elements that just aren't you. And so when you're planning your brand, make sure that you plan something that is sustainable for you. If we were to make something that was really, really corporate, but there was only one of us putting together the website, that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
You're like putting on an air of, you're trying to make a show of something that you're not. And that's going to lead you to a place that's just not doable.
And then the third principle here is don't expect to have your whole brand figured out right now before you ever start making content. It's great to have an idea of where you want to be. You can grow your brand with your audience, with your viewers, with your readers. They are going to play a role. There's going to be some feedback and some community built if you do this well, and it is going to impact the brand. And odds are that over time, you're going to adapt a little bit as well, and that brand can adapt with you.
So we have a plan for Project Charity, terraintreaders.com. We're super, super excited. Some of these things we've kind of decided on, our initial direction we want to go with the brand, that's not all implemented yet. But we're going to share with you so that you guys are on board and know what's going on.
Yeah, I think it's important to know, like, how do we take this and let that brand, like, flow through to our blog? So how do we make that happen? This is the plan.
Yeah. So as far as making a brand, a mission, something that people can get behind, we kind of have an idea of what we want to do. We're not, as I alluded to earlier, we're not really going for the thrill seeker, super hardcore adventurer. We are more of the brand will be more of a get out into nature, enjoying, having fun, experiencing the places that you can go off-road that other people just can't be on pavement. And I think that this feel is really going to help fit us. And I think that there's a lot of people out there who this will also really ring true with.
When we know that's the mission, that's now what that's going to do is impact everything else that we do. It's going to impact the color scheme and logo, which I'm about to talk about, but it's also going to impact the content. Where are we going to put our focus? It's not going to be about finding the trails where you're going to have like the biggest jumps and the most thrill, and where a beginner is going to totally die. This is going to be about like finding those cool places, and that tone is going to pervade everything from the search analysis all the way down through the way we write every article. But now let's talk a little bit about logo, colors, and what does that do? So by knowing that this is what we want, that's going to impact the logo, right? If I were going for a more sport jock feel with off-roading, if we think about the vehicles, right? The people that are all the real sporty ones that drive like the super fast stuff and are jumping and motocross and all that, they use, you know, bright reds and yellows and like these really bright colors. The really rural, grungy stuff, I mean, it's all like a ton of hunter green, right? Well, what do we want? Our feel is more about nature and adventure and stuff. So we're probably gonna use some real natural colors, probably some greens and browns and blues, but the green is gonna be maybe more of a forest green than like the hunter green that's more, you know, that kind of military feel, right?
Right.
But we're also about fun. We want it to be a fun, kind of lighthearted. And so a pop of color, I really like the kind of, what is it, the rust orange, or that orange that's like a little bit earthy, but still kind of bright. There's a Bronco in that color. That's pretty cool. Yeah. I like that color. And so the logo is going to implement that color scheme. Now, there's an invitation I want to make to you, for any of you out there who, you know, either are designers or like want to try your hand at design. We're actually going to run a logo contest. I want to invite you to be able to be a part of this website. This is Project Charity. All the proceeds go to charity. So rather than outsourcing this to a, you know, third-party company and doing a logo contest out there, I want to invite you to try this first. You can just go, I'll put a link in the description, in the pinned comment to this page, and you'll be able to go look at kind of the rules, and we'll share kind of a more accurate version of this, of what we're going for Terrain Treaders. You can see how all that works, and then you can submit a design if you'd like to. And we'll take those designs and we're gonna let all of you vote and help us pick the logo for terraintreaders.com, because the more involved that you can be in this process, I think, the cooler it's gonna be. So that's logos for you.
The next part of this is your brand name. We've picked terraintreaders.com, which I personally think is an awesome domain name. I'm really excited for it. But using it wherever it feels natural throughout your content. You know, Terrain Treaders is really cool because we could refer to people who follow the website or the YouTube channel as treaders. You guys are the Terrain Treaders. So instances like that where you can, you know, talk about your brand and let it be known that this is a brand. That's not something that would feel really natural necessarily on just a website with content.
Right.
But when you're really trying to implement the branding into that, it's going to make people feel like they're a part. And so that's a really, really important step. Another thing that you should be doing is industry outreach. And that's something that we're going to be doing. And so, you know, when we're reaching out to people saying, hey, we are Terrain Treaders, and using your name like that, it's going to really help you establish yourself as the brand you are.
Yeah, every time you're doing industry outreach, if you're being interviewed on a podcast, use that name throughout the podcast. I mean, don't make it feel totally unnatural, but...
We're not keyword stuffing here.
Right, but we want people to remember that this is who they were talking to. Yep. They're not gonna remember your name as much as they're more likely to remember your brand. Yep. So use that brand, use that name when you're on social media. A lot of you know, Facebook groups, a lot of subreddits, those kinds of things, people don't want you linking to your content all the time. But we can build up that awareness by using our logo, using our name of our website as our profile name if we want to. But also, when you answer people's questions and help them, just say, you know, on Terrain Treaders, we say this, or we like this, or we do this, or whatever. Use that brand name and get people to recognize it. That's gonna help build that brand awareness. Now, there's something else that I wanna invite you to participate in. I told you about the logo contest, but there's so much more we could talk about with branding. There are probably dozens of questions going through your head. And so we are going to do actually a private YouTube Live for our Income School Insiders. So if you are an insider, make sure that you watch your email. You're gonna get an email from us telling you all the details about this. If you're not an insider yet, now is probably a good time to do that if you wanna participate in that live. It's completely free. It's basically, you're just subscribing to be an Income School Insider, and we'll just let you know when we have really cool little perks, cool content that we have just for you. And this is a perfect example of that. We're gonna go all the way into branding and answer all of those questions for you.
In preparation for this video, we spent hours talking about branding. We were like, we want to fit it all into this video, but
it's probably too long already.
Yes. So join us on the live. If you haven't signed up to be part of the Income School Insiders, do that.
And I really hope to see you there. Now I think I want to go for a ride.
I think so.